I'm going to call to order the Board of Finance on December 12th at 5:07 p.m. And the first item on the agenda is the agenda. I would welcome a motion to amend or adopt it.
Actually, just getting it up to mine.
Move to adopt.
Thank you. Second. Great. Any further discussion of the agenda? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the public forum. Is around the room. I don't see anyone here in person to speak to the public forum. Is there anyone online? I see we do have a couple people viewing the meeting currently on Zoom. If you would like to be recognized to give input to the Board of Finance, please raise hand function. I'm not seeing any takers on that, so I'm going to close the public forum and move to the consent agenda, which is simply for approving the November 28th minutes. And welcome motion on the consent agenda.
Move to consent agenda.
Second. Great. Any discussion of the consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. That brings us to the section of the agenda where we will have 6 items for approval and recommendations to the City Council, and then we will have 5 items for the Board of Finance to act on solely. We'll start with 4.01, authorization to accept grant funds for the operation of the Elmwood Emergency Shelter Community. This is a CETO item, and I think Brian Cain, our director, is here to speak to this. You want to just tee this up quickly, Brian?
Thank you. Brian Pine, the Director of the Community and Economic Development Office. I will say a couple remarks and be joined by Marcella Gensch, who's with us remotely. And she can answer more detailed questions. Our request was made to the state of Vermont for funding to operate the emergency shelter at Elmwood Avenue. They were very supportive and gave us full approval. Since then, we've also had some changes that will require increased funding from them, and we've begun that process to request increased funding. But for now, this is the before you tonight is the agreement for the funding we would like to see as the first installment, if you will.
Great. Thank you, Brian. The floor is open for questions or motion.
Thanks for bringing this forward and continue to both do the actual work of the implementation, but also working on getting funding. I'm curious, and I apologize if your promise says this section, but I didn't read it. I'm curious how much of this project, I guess, we've gotten funding for, and for how long, and how much, if any, of the city is taking on financially and balance of that.
We are still working out the details of how to fund the operations. I'm going to ask Marcella to speak to the first year's operations is a little bit of a prorated period because they fund us for their fiscal year. So we will be receiving a prorated share of funding, but we will, we're engaged in conversation or meeting this week with the Office of Economic Opportunity, the Department of the Agency of Human Services, to go through pretty detailed analysis of what we've requested for additional funding. So our hope is we can get all of our additional funding needs met there. If not, we'll be searching for other sources and perhaps coming back to the Board of Finance if necessary. Marcella, is there anything else?
No, that's correct. This is essentially a prorated element of the grant that runs through the state's financial year to the end of June. So we'll be making a reapplication for the full year for next year in the early spring. And we also now have a better idea of cost.
One thing I'd like to note is that the cost on a per bed basis compared to the other programs the state operates is quite a savings to use this model. And we provide, well, services are provided that are pretty extensive, way beyond what the state provides in any other facility. So this will be a very service-rich environment for folks, which is a better, we can achieve better outcomes and at a reduced cost. So it's in fact a savings to the taxpayer.
I just said, when you approved this back at the beginning of the year, it was clear that we were going to be seeking funding from other agencies as well. And so we've been partially successful in that. As Brian said, we're trying to secure more, and we have several, at least a couple of significant potential opportunities for there. It is, I will say, until we have greater certainty about whether we are going to get any assistance and further assistance from the state or other parties, we've not fully deployed all the ARPA funds that we've set aside for housing yet, and it's possible that we would have to get further into those if we're not successful at this. So that's our kind of backup plan if these fundraising efforts are not successful. It certainly, I think, as also was said, I think we have a very strong case as to why what we're proposing here is a really innovative, impactful new concept that the state should look to invest in, and that is, is a good value proposition, even just on the shelter side. And if we succeed at some of these ambitious social goals of really becoming a much better way, more focused way for people to access permanent housing, jobs, drug treatment, mental health treatment, that, it could, hopefully if they see that value in it, becomes even better proposition. So that's the case we're making. I've been trying to help the CEDO team, and that had some high level state conversations as well. And I do think this is one of the most innovative things the state is doing right now. And it's often been pointed to in a variety of contexts as like what the state response, most significant sort of response has been to trying to deal with the current challenge. So I hope we get more assistance for it.
Thank you, Will. That's a full overview of where we're at.
Great.
Unless Joe or Karen.
I'm happy to make the motion.
Excellent.
It's recommended on board docs.
Second. Great. Any further discussion?
Just apologize for leaving out Councillor Dang and that didn't see others.
Okay. Okay. I'm seeing no further discussion. We'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And we'll go to item 4.02, which is Cain Overlook improvements. This is part of Battery Park. And thank you, Ryan. We have Cindy White, Parks Recreation Waterfront Director here. And can you give us a quick summary, Cindy, to kick us off?
Yeah, yep. So we're excited to finally get this project moved forward. I believe it started in 2016 is when the city first named the Overlook over for Mayor Cain. So we're finally getting back around to that project. It'll include, right now it's just an asphalt area. So we'll be pulling that out, putting granite pavers down, fixing all the buttresses, which need a fair amount of repair. That's actually kind of the most expensive part of the project, is repairing all the buttresses. But basically what that will do is just secure it for decades to come. So that's kind of the synopsis of that project. And it may be a small one, but we're looking forward to getting that project done, wrapped up, and looking a lot nicer for the community.
Buttresses, if it's not clear to anyone, are
Thank you.
the structures that hold up the railing on the edge of Battery Park, and that are made out of redstone, that distinctive redstone, but that has all the mortar joints are kind of crumbling and haven't been repaired, pointed in a very long time. And so this sort of a structural element to this holding this wall in place and holding up the railing.
Yeah, and they're much taller than one would think looking from front because they go, since it's an overlook, they go all the way down. So it's actually quite a bit of work, and it has to be done historically accurate.
Great, thank you for that, Cindy. Floor is open for questions, motion. Councilor McGee.
Thank you, Director White. I just had a quick question. I know Battery Park is due for, excuse me, a comprehensive plan, and I just assume that this work is required separate from that.
Correct. I mean, the sense is that we need to get the buttress fixed up to do that. And then at that time, we might as well fix the fact that we've got, just pavement in there. It doesn't look very nice in that space. So while we're in there doing that buttress work, we might as well finish up that project and have that wrapped up. But then, and the sense is that'll fit right in when we go to do the comprehensive plan for the park. That won't, doing that work ahead of time won't take away from what we're looking to do for that entire park. But thank you for asking that.
Great, thank you for that. I'm happy to make the motion as recommended on board docs.
Thank you, Councilor McGee. Second by Councilor Hightower. Discussion. Great, seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Great, thank you, Cindy, for your work on that and team's work on that. 4.03, lease of vendor space at North Beach for 3 seasons. All right, see this one up for us, Jim.
Alec is actually here
Oh,
from
great.
North Beach.
Yes, of course. Great.
Hello.
Welcome, Alec.
Thank you. This is just the second lease from this vendor at North Beach. Very popular attraction. People come there specifically to use the paddleboard and kayak. So we have another lease at Oak Ledge, and we get it at both ends of the bay. So it works out quite well. We're very happy with Paddle Surf as a vendor there.
Excellent. Floor is open for questions or a motion.
Not a question, just a comment, which just appreciate the continued transparency on how we're opening it up to other vendors and why we're selling them. So appreciate the memo. I like Cindy, so thanks for that. And with that, happy to approve and recommend that the city council approve and authorize execution of a lease as listed on board docs.
Great. Is there a second? Second. President Paul, discussion. Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
You. 4.04. This is 195-201 Flynn Avenue MOU and CSWD drop-off center in Burlington. Long time council members will know you've talked about this before. Welcome back. Wait, kick this off for us, Jim.
Great. We're here seeking 2 actions, and this is all in service of improving the solid waste management of Burlington and our residents to seek 2 things. One is a 6-month extension on a memorandum of understanding with Chittenden Solid Waste District for the 195-201 Flynn Avenue parcel that is behind Metalworks, and a 2-year extension on CSWD's lease for 339 Pine Street, which is where currently they only accept compost. But through this 2-year extension, we plan a path for them to get additional space at 339 Pine, as is attached to your document, that would allow them to reopen trash, recycling, yard waste, the basics, at least the basics. And Lee Perry and I have been working to improve both the city's soil management as well as the public's availability of drop-off centers. And this moves us in the direction of both, though, as councilors know, this has been a long discussion between CSWD and the city.
Okay, thank you for that, Stephen. Welcome, Lee. The floor is open for questions, comments, motion.
just have a question,
Go ahead, President Paul.
just to confirm, so this did come before the two? What was the outcome?
I left early.
You left early. You know, just,
Genius.
yeah.
Heavy night.
Yes. The two did discuss this. There was no formal action taken, but general support for the concept.
I'm happy to make the both motions as recommended in board docs.
Second.
Great, further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Are you opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thanks.
Thank you.
for keeping the moments.
Yeah.
Okay, this is 4.05 now. It's a property lease with Aerodyme Corporation, 274 Valley Road. And welcome Nick and Shelby. And floor is open for questions, comments, motion.
Maybe you could just give a little bit of.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. So can you kick us off, Nick, on this?
Sure, absolutely. So this is what we refer to as our valley area. If you recall, we had many tenants earlier late last year that came to us with some concerns over other tenant expansion as well as the future of this particular area. Aerodyme, I'm happy to report that we were able to negotiate over many, many months, but able to negotiate a brand new lease. This is a 3-year lease with two 1-year option agreements. Essentially a 5-year agreement on this particular site. This building that they're currently leasing today, and of course with this new approval, is a over 60-year-old building. This is the oldest facility that we have on the airport. I know Councilor Barlow had a question just before this regarding the per square foot rental rate of 19 cents a square foot. And that is the largest reason for that particular reduction in rent. Is this particular hangar is scheduled to be removed. The facility is not anywhere identical to any other facility that we have on our airfield. And this tenant has been a longstanding tenant, and this is essentially his existing rate with proper escalations. This does include a small portion of ramp space for his business, and that is pretty much it.
Great, thank you. How would the board like to proceed? Floor is open. Questions, comments, motion? How would we like to deal with this? President Paul.
Thank you. I mean, is there anyone that this lease is infringing on?
It is not. This is the existing footprint that he previously occupied before at the same footprint, same buildings. Everything is identical to his prior lease.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, President Paul. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Hightower. Discussion.
That's discussion.
Go ahead, Councilor Jang.
Yeah, thank you, Director Longo. I was just wondering if you have been approached by Transportation Utility Committee to talk about the general aviation in general and also their leases. We have one in front of us, and we know there are several others that are there. What are the status of their their leases? Are they still all there? Some of them left since Beta came, and was just wondering what council committee are you working on to give a general sense about what's going on there?
Yeah, great questions. So, yes, the two committee has approached me. Councilor Barlow requested a presentation, not just on the sustainability study that we're working on, but also status updates of the valley as well as the neighboring communities over on the west side of the airport. So we did that a couple of weeks ago.
Thanksgiving holiday.
Right before the holiday. We didn't talk too much about the Valley area, those tenants. I am happy to report that all but one tenant down in the Valley has accepted and negotiated a lease extension in that area. So the Vermont Flight Academy, Civil Air Patrol, the Hangar Condo Associates, Aerodyme. We have an existing tenant in this very facility that we're talking about with Aerodyme. They're all remaining and have extended their leases with the airport and have been approved by the board and the city council. And then the final tenant, unfortunately, we're not able to negotiate with, and it, yeah.
Thank you. I think I will need to access those minutes, but thank you.
Of course.
So Councilor James, so I understand you would like to see that before you're able to vote on this item, is that what you're saying?
Not at all. Nope, nope.
Okay.
We're ready to vote. Yeah.
Okay, great. Great, any further questions? We have a motion and a second. There's no further comment. We will go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. This brings us to 4.06, another airport item, request to authorize a budget neutral amendment to the airport's fiscal year 23 budget in the amount of $118,193. Welcome, Marie. So we'd like to kick this one off for.
Sure.
Great.
So Marie Freeman, CFO at the airport. We have before you tonight a budget neutral amendment. We are very excited that we were able to build with federal money, specifically an earmark from Leahy. We were able to build the terminal integration project, which was a large expansion and now houses are on the first floor. There's a consolidated TSA screening checkpoint that is now everybody goes to the same screening point with all state-of-the-art equipment. And then the second floor is going to be holding space and other such thing. With this new space, our cleaning contract, which is with Janetech, we have a contract with them that goes into the end of this fiscal year. It's a very large space. I don't remember the exact square footage and I wish I had looked that up, but I want to say
it's about 40,000 additional square feet to the terminal.
So it requires a fairly extensive cleaning crew to keep that looking good and up to our standards, which required reasonably so additional charges that Janetech would like to have. So that is what we put here. And I'm balancing that because I had come to the committee earlier this year and we are going to be doing some extensive renovations in our garage to upgrade our fire alarm system, and we're upgrading all of our lighting system. And that contract is not starting as early as I thought it was, just with winter now, we'll be starting that in the spring and it will go over a period of time. It'll cross the next year. So I had budgeted monies that I don't anticipate using until the following fiscal year, which allows me to shift them around and cover this increase or reasonable increase to our janitorial services.
And the only thing I'll add is Janetech has 8 months, less than 8 months at this point left on their contract. So we'll be going out to bid for another multi-year contract inclusive of this area in just a few short months.
Great, thank you. Floor is open. Motion, questions, comments? Councilor McGee.
Thank you. Thank you both for the overview. I just have a quick question about the 118,000. I understand that we're not going to spend it this fiscal year on that project, but assume that at some point we will need to spend that 118,000 on the garage project. So if we could just have some guesstimates as to where that money might come from next year.
That's a great question, and we'll be adequately budgeting as we get closer to the budgeting season. We'll be looking at what we are. We'll have a better estimate of how fast we're able to do that construction work and improvement work. And then we will appropriate the correct amount of money in the garage cost center to cover all those repairs. So we'll make sure we have adequate balances and checks with our revenues to cover that appropriation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McGee. Further discussion? You ready for a motion on this recommendation?
Yep, I make the motion as indicated on board doc.
Thank you. Second by Councilor Hightower. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you both for that. All right, now we're moving into the section 5 of the agenda, Board of Finance approval only, sticking with the airport. Request for an 5.01 is a request to execute a contract for design and bidding with Freeman French Freeman Inc. for the TSA Administrative Office relocation. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Sure. So working with the General Services Administration, GSA, who is technically the leaseholder for TSA, the Transportation Security Administration, we have very specific requirements to relocate their leadership and administrative offices. Their offices were relocated because of the new terminal opening. The hallway and some of the entrances into the existing building impacted their office space. So this has pretty significant, as you can see, this is a up to a $64,000 potential contract with Freeman French Freeman to design and set us up for a bidding process for GSA and for us to retrofit existing office space temporarily for TSA. This is just about completed. We did already sign a contract, a small contract with Freeman French Freeman, which was under the $50,000. However, we had some amendments due to new GSA requirements, which brought us over the $50,000 up to the $58,995 with the contingency. And that's the reason we're here today, including the requirements in the memo.
President Paul.
Thank you. I have a question. And maybe I missed it in this, was there a bidding process where we be selected?
So we did a qualifications process with the architect engineer, Freeman French Freeman, and then with that qualification, Freeman French Freeman within the terminal building, Freeman French Freeman was determined to be the qualified bidder or the qualified engineering provider to help us bid the actual contractual work.
Are they the only ones that bid?
I don't recall if they were. I think we've had a few particular qualified bidders on that on the terminal project, but I don't remember if Freeman French was the only one. I can definitely find that out.
Well, if they were, then that would be a sole source. So that would be in this memo.
If we put it out to bid and there was only one bidder, I'm not sure if that gets captured as a sole source because we put it out to bid.
Yeah, maybe not, but
Yes.
you know, I mean, I think I personally would be interested in knowing. I mean, these are very good contracts.
Yeah.
You know, and there's lots of architectural firms in town. I mean, I'm just wondering if there were any other architectural firms that bid on this.
There were, and we do have it in the memo here. And I apologize, I didn't remember prior to, but we did send this out for qualifications just a few years ago with 11 consulted respondents. I think there's.
Oh, I
6
see that. It does say
pre-qualified.
that 11 responses. That's true. That
I
is
can
true.
list
Yeah.
them next time
No,
too. to make
no,
sure.
you don't need to. I mean, I should have read that. So
Okay.
that is in the memo.
And my apologies, I forgot about that as well.
No, that's fine. That's my answers my question.
It's one thing we kind of struggled with. There's 2 memos that I think this was affected
Yeah.
by with the airport where this pre-qualification process was at play. And we didn't want to go too far into the weeds, but thank you for that, Nick. I think
Yeah.
we're trying to make sure to show that it has been competitive without going into the weeds of the process that happened some years ago and how we kind of got to this point. But appreciate that due
I mean, I
diligence.
do appreciate the fact that you brought that, you know, most of these, I mean, I don't know that there's a requirement to do so, but there are other, projects that go out for bid and we know what those bids are. So was this person selected? I guess it's always nice to know where they selected. I mean, an FAQ is not the same.
Yeah.
An RFQ is not the same as RFP, but it is nice to know that we're doing the best we can to be efficient. But I won't go on and on. Thank you. You answered my question.
I don't believe we have a motion second yet. Right. So.
I'm happy to move to authorize the Director of Aviation to execute a contract with Freeman as recommended, as listed in that recommended action.
I'll second that.
Or second by Councilor McGee. Discussion. Seeing none, further discussion, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. The item 5.02 is a request to execute a contract for an engineering study with Casero Associates Inc. for the study of the snow removal equipment, building and citing a comparative study and budget neutral amendment to fiscal year 2023 budget. Want to do a quick summary of this?
Sure. So this is another exciting, really essential project for the airport to kick off. Our SRE building, or snow removal equipment building, as defined by the FAA, is essentially is to store the FAA funded pieces of equipment to maintain the airport specific to snow removal. We did go out, FAA does require only in RFQ a qualifications-based package. We did go out for a 5-year capital program qualification-based package in which Casero was selected for a few projects at the airport, but also this snow removal equipment building. This is step 1, stage 1, due diligence, siting locations. Where can we site this? Right now, our priority location is to the very northwest quadrant of the airport, not in any residential areas or any adjacent to any residential areas. In fact, we moved this even further to the north with this scope of work with Casero to be in a commercial industrial zoned area and adjacent zoned area. It's essentially a pretty basic design. This is just the beginning of the contract stage of just shy of $100,000 just to kick things off. FAA has preliminary said that through bill funding and other transportation grant funds, that this project would be eligible for a design only grant, which we need this particular scope of work just to get to that stage. And then eventually a bidding in a larger contract for the new building. But this is step 1 of really setting this new new building.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick. This floor is open for questions, comments, motion.
I'll make a motion to take the action as recommended in board docs.
Second that.
Second by Councilor McGee. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, thank you both, you all. We are down to the last three items of the meeting, 5.03, CivicClerk Purchase. Welcome, Scott.
Right.
May you kick us off with this?
Sure. This is a request to purchase CivicClerk, which would be the replacement for board docs. We've seen several iterations of demos and things like that. This will be up to $20,000 for year one, which is including maintenance and support, as well as all of the implementation and moving 15,000 documents over from Word docs and other places into the new system. And then there will be $12,000 a year ongoing for maintenance and support, which is at least $5,000 less than what we currently spend for Word docs. So should give more functionality and better accessibility and better responsive design than we have today for less money.
Great. Councilor Hightower.
Just a question of how far back 15,000 documents will take us.
That's a great question. We don't totally know because we're taking everything from board docs, but also because we want all the boards and commissions that are running on websites, everything else to move this way as well. So the 5250 is for the first 15,000. They will do more than that if we want them to or need them to for 35 cents a document, which is exactly what that cost is as well. So we can do as many as we want. We just know there's going to be at least 15,000. But great question.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, did you have any comments? Sorry. So how do you transition without it being ugly?
It's a great question. We're going to have a good solid plan. We won't move anybody off of board docs until we're ready to move on to CivicClerk. And then we may actually run one or two in parallel just to make sure. But work with them. They've done this many times and they have a very solid process. So my take will be that as much as we can go out of the box with them and follow their best practice recommendations, we should be fine. We'll definitely make sure we vet that all the way through. We'll have our own project manager on our side as well.
Okay, so like there's, we have a gap with no meeting. This is just the council. Forget about all the committees. But just with the council. We don't have another meeting until the 9th of January. Now, are you anticipating that this wouldn't happen until the next one on the 23rd?
This won't happen for
a while.
Oh, yeah, okay, we're not talking about that rapid.
All right, so not in January.
No, I can't imagine us being ready in January.
All right, well, I really didn't know.
No, it's a great question.
I know you've been working on this for a while. You're probably raring to go.
We're raring to go only from the perspective where we want to sign the contract and get
right. Well, that's why.
But we won't be anywhere near January. We will want to move everything over first and get everything ready and set up, and we'll do some training and some vetting and some testing before we go. My expectation is that probably March is a more realistic timeframe. Definitely not January. Do not have to worry about coming back from the holidays and roll right into the new system.
I was more just thinking from the perspective of when we went with board docs, which was a while ago. We did have a council meeting where everybody got their login, everybody got their password, everybody got, and we did it all together.
Right.
And it worked. We all sort of worked on it together. But remember, people weren't using we weren't using a computer at all before that. So
we will definitely have some time for everybody to get in, get trained, get their logins and everything else. But it definitely won't be in January.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
I was also surprised at how cheap this was, generally. But I'm excited, I guess, that we're moving out all of the boards and commissions and committees and everything to one platform. I think that'll make it, that as much as anything else will make it more transparent for the public to know when meetings are happening and what's going on. And I think we talked about this a little bit at your presentation, but just to the extent that that can also be maybe a moment when we standardize how we do things.
Yep.
I think that could be.
That's our goal, is that we, as we bring boards and commissions over, as we bring the council, board of finance, everything into the system, that not only will there be some uniformity in terms of how everything is used, but it'll be uniform for citizens to get to the information, find it, have accurate calendar entries that won't have to look at different places.
Right, and just my small addition to that is as usual is just the PDF documents. I think both just on ordinance committee working with resolutions, it's never on the same line and it always gets very confusing.
Yeah.
And then I think generally it just, I think makes it more accessible as Word starts to be a thing that is questionable if people have downloaded on the computer, not are paying for. I think it'll just help make it more accessible.
Excellent. Great.
No, it's exciting. If you're looking for a motion, I'm happy to make one.
Great.
If that was you making.
It was me. And so I think you answered this question already, Scott, but this does within this contract, we will be able to transfer over all the documents currently on board.
Yes, we will sign the contract. The initial purchase includes 5,250 for the first 15,000 documents. And then if there are more documents in that we do want to move over, that will absolutely get everything in board docs. We know that much. I just don't know how much is out there other than in board docs. And that means we'll go back to board docs goes back to at least 2014. So we'll move all of that. And then anything over and above that, they've already committed to helping with it. It's just a matter of, we just have to know how many it is and they'll bill us 35 cents a document.
10 years would be wonderful, but I don't know if that's possible.
10 years, there isn't, I mean, we're moving everything in board docs. It goes to 2014. So if there's other documents out there somewhere else that we want to move in, we can definitely approach that as well.
I know there is a system for logging resolutions for a lot longer than that.
Right.
It would be wonderful to have those available to the public.
We can
not just on the magic list that
Yes.
that would be great.
Sure.
Little known fact, probably most counselors aren't aware that there is a way of searching for
Yeah, I'm not
resolutions
even,
that happened a very long time.
I'm not
ago.
even sure how to do it.
I don't
So I think only a few people have access, and I
Yes.
think it's a really good point to
Yeah.
open that up. for
Yeah.
people.
And we're gonna try and migrate that over for all the not just the council. And the,
Yes.
Be for all the boards and committees, even if they have not been on board docs to this point. And then we'll work to bring all of them into board docs, or into Civic Clerk, so that going forward, we'll all be on the same platform. Everything will be in one spot for citizens and commissioners, counselors, everything.
Great. Okay, there's no further questions, discussion, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Well, unfortunately, work's just getting started.
Request for approval to execute contract for replacement of control panels for Queen City and Apple Tree in pump stations. Back, Chip, and
Thank you.
is Ashley gonna kick us off on this?
Yeah, yes, Ashley, why don't you take it away?
Yep, so we are looking to execute a contract with Pratt and Smith, who will build and install 2 new control panels at 2 of our 25 pump stations, which are Apple Tree and Queen City. These are significant upgrades. These control panels are the brains of the operation, and the existing control panels are original to the stations. So this will bring, these are significant upgrades that will bring these 2 stations closer to new, and we've been piecemealing those upgrades to completely revamp those 2 stations.
Great, thank you. Floor is open for. That's right there.
It's move the recommended action, so on board docs to execute a contract.
Great, thank you for that. Second by Councilor McGee. Further discussion. Seeing none, we will go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks,
Great,
Ashley.
thank you very much.
Chairman. And that brings us to the final item of business, approval of 2022 Juneteenth contracts and salary budget adjustment, REIB item. And we have Pitt jumping in to speak to this. Pitt, do you want to do a quick summary of this?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Bringing with you today just some few FY22 REIB budget items that will tie up our fiscal year. First is we have 2 vendors that the city paid out, REIB paid out for Juneteenth. That was over 50,000, and so bring it to Board of Finance to do a retroactive approval for that. And also there's an accounting error that charged one of our budget lines, salary lines, from limited services, and it was supposed to be taken out of seasonal. So those are my items.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Pitt. How would the board like to proceed? Floor is open.
A quick question, and happy to make the motion. And this is maybe the second list of retroactive pays that, and was just wondering if we have anything else in the work coming again, or this is it.
This is it. This is it for Juneteenth. Yes, we caught it, and the reason why was because it was under 50,000. They were throughout the scope of like the first of the year to the end of the year that were paid out to in individual invoices to these companies.
Wonderful. All right, and I'm happy to make the motion as indicated on board that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Jennings. I believe that was a second from Councilor McGee. Any further discussion, Councilor Hightower?
This isn't actually a Board of Finance discussion, but just noting, I know that none of the participants ever got the pictures from any of those events, the Juneteenth or the Angela Davis or the red and black on the green, which I think was also part of the Juneteenth thing. So I've sent a few emails, but just noting, I think some folks would love to see some of those pictures that were taken.
Yeah, definitely. We are working with the company Black Hub, and they're the ones that took the pictures and videos. So we're hoping to get that out soon. It was led by our event planner who had to transfer all the information to us. So we're hoping to get that out to the public and any community partners soon.
Thanks for letting me take that very aside comment.
Appreciate it. Wasn't aware of that situation. So, good. Are we ready for a vote on the item? Looks like it. We'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. We got through a lot tonight, and without objection, having completed the full agenda, we'll adjourn the Board of Finance at 5:56 p.m. I think we have a little gap between 6:30.
5:56. Well, no, we're starting at 6. So have a few minutes, yes.
Sorry.
Just like a